We're so happy you could join us today. Welcome, Simon.
Hey, how's it going?
Simon, what's good?
It's good. It's good. Good to see you.
It's great to see you. How have you been?
Good. It's we're all on a roller coaster, but I guess we're all having fun moments as we also feel a little sick at times, right?
I think that's right. So why don't you give everybody a little bit of context of the business and yourself? Let's take a 3-minute floor.
Yeah, sure. So I'm at Somerville. It's actually a year. CMO at Somerville, a year this week. Great brand. Founder is a genius with skincare. Really knows how to get things done. Started a clinic that was became iconic in Hollywood, and then rolled into brick and mortar at like Sephora, Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, places like that. Super hot brand, grew really, really fast. And then like the 2 years prior to getting here, it sort of lost a little bit of that momentum as it got to a certain scale. And so that got interesting to me because it's the opportunity to accelerate and to really globally scale something. And also because background wise, it has that blend, right? Small company, scrappy startup, and sort of big company scales, which fits my background. So Irish, first kid to go to college, went to college in a big city of Dublin, then went to the US on a summer trip, met a girl, and then left the country, much to my parents' despair, I'm sure. Met a couple of guys starting a footwear company. One was a designer and one was the sales guy, and I needed the everything else guy, which is kind of what I became. We bootstrapped that to 20 million at Gordon Rush, sold at Nordstrom, Saks, Bloomingdale's, sold a spin-off brand to DSW. And then hit 2008, 2009, and like that whole thing where really realizing you think you're a rock star until things goes wrong, and then you really learn. And then just getting the company through those next couple of years really shaped me. Then I wanted to know how to scale things. And so to kind of a step back to go forward, I went, did MBA, ended up then with Neutrogena and beauty, part of J&J. So I went from C-suite to brand manager, which was interesting adjustment. Kind of the perspective people had is like, you'll be there a year, you're too entrepreneurial, but I stayed there 7. I learned a lot, like really learned like how do you run things, really profitability on a whole other level as a GM, and then also how to scale and market brands, like really drive acceleration and awareness. So went through Neutrogena, got to do the turnaround on Clean and Clear, where I got to work with some of your team on that, which was a great experience, and to kind of see that come to fruition. And then was leading global beauty tech, but then the opportunity again to look at that blend of skills, both the small company, big company, but also I think importantly the blend between luxury and mass, because sometimes the luxury space can be too siloed. They don't want to bring in ideas. You have to have a certain taste level. I think being able to bridge between that's really important, because there's ways of sort of running scalable brands that you can really take advantage, even at high-end price points. And so blending those together has been fun.
Zubin?
Fascinating story, Simon. I think that one of the things that is really interesting for me as well to understand, and for the audience, I think would be to get a sense of, for a brand like Somerville that's been in Sephora, that's done so well in retail, to then through the pandemic have to shift and become kind of digitally native, if you will. Talk to us a little bit about that shift. What happened? How did it go? And how do you maintain relationships with retailers like Sephora, where you're now also digitally native to an extent?
Yeah. So I think like you've had some DTC brands on, like you've got Bombas, Warby, Parker. I mean, Somerville couldn't be more polar opposite. It literally started with touching people's faces one-to-one, that connection in a clinic. But I think we see ourselves ending up in the same place. And I think that's sort of really important. The brands, we really started a year ago. So I came in, new CEO, joined at the same time. Fantastic. It's like, focus on the strategy. What do we need to do? Then just go do it. Get the talent, get the people, go make it happen. Don't overthink it. Learn on the way. And so we really saw the loyalty that we had with the consumers. We saw some of the ways in international markets we were accelerating on digital. We felt like that was a huge opportunity in the US. So we brought in the people with the skills, the infrastructure, and we really kind of had that mentality of going digital first. It doesn't mean our footprint went digital first. It brought that mentality. So we had that all in place before COVID. So we were coming in with all the right pieces. We were at our highest awareness level we'd ever been at right before COVID. I think if COVID had hit a year earlier, we would have been screwed. So like we in some ways we're lucky, or we had foresight, whichever way you want to look at it, in terms of being prepared for shifts. And obviously the accelerated shifts have helped us. And then as we got into that, it was also looking at, well, our clinic's closed. So let's get the staff from the clinic and start doing virtual consultations. Our field team, they can't go in and support Sephora right now. Maybe we can get them in on customer service and really kind of take that to another level, which they've all been able to do. So it's been a really, really interesting journey. And I think in terms of the brick and mortar customers, like the Sephoras of the world, or I think they're omnichannel at this point, I mean, they're critical to us. It's not an either or. I think in terms of they introduce so many new people to the brand. And, you know, if you've got all that rent right now, right, and all that inventory, it's hard. All those retailers, it's hard for them right now. So I think it's critical that we're a partner now because they're going to be a great partner for us in the long run. And so we've taken sort of the digital marketing skills and we're applying it to them. We're driving traffic to their .coms. We're taking the same sort of approach, and we're trying to think in terms of recapture. So how many consumers from brick and mortar can you recapture? And if we can recapture them on Kate.com, great. But there are certain people who are going to be loyal to Sephora for the right reasons. And so we kind of want to make sure that we're reaching them too. And we're supporting their businesses and partnering the same way they will with us in the long run.
Simon, what are you most excited about from a communications and consumers level? You know, what channels excite you? What content strategies excite you? You know, one thing I just know about you is, like, you know, from our interactions is I think you're intuitive to the end consumer. Is there anything popping right now, whether it's a TikTok, whether it's pre-roll YouTube, long tail influencer, tripling down on Facebook, maybe it's direct mail or remnant TV? Is there, what are you personally excited about?
Honestly, it's probably not the most exciting answer. I'm looking, where's the opportunity?
I like,
where's the CPMs?
Listen, you know me, and to me, I want to know, do those CPMs correlate to business results? You know, for Empathy Wines, which we had a huge exit recently to Constellation, I was yelling at my team, higher paid CPMs, because I'm looking for relevance, right? I was looking for $28 CPMs,
yeah.
$2, because I knew that I was getting people named Zubin that used to be named Zubin, and I could make a joke with my empathy creative and close them. Like, you know, to me, but I'd love to, you know, one thing you just fired me up because we've had some, like, just the sheer fact that both of us care about business and comms is a way to get there. Reminds me of some of my favorite combos with you. What is it? Are you seeing a correlation on lower CPMs in certain channels with business? Like, where are you at?
Yeah, so I think we're not, like, our loyalty is to the consumer and the business, not necessarily to who we're buying the media from in order to get there. So I think we've seen a real opportunity. And you go back, you look at 2008, you can look back at 2001, when the economy sinks, people pull money out. But the brands that keep investing, A, to get the lower CPMs, and B, when they come out of it, they're stronger. So we're trying to have that mentality. I think there's two things. I think we think of it differently. So we've got to build the brand, and we've got to drive the sales, and we're kind of moving between both. So we'll pay a lot higher and think longer term if we're going to tell the brand story and tell that brand story to new people. And we'll do long form to do that. When we're trying to convert people, we're going to be really focused on ROAS. And then as we look between the blend, it's the cost per acquisition, right? And just trying to tracking that over time. So there isn't one. I think we found really that things that are outside of media are working really well for us too. So I think influencers worked incredibly well. And again, having that authentic story. So it's not like, hey, look at my product, but it's much more like bring them to the journey, let them spend time with the founder. So those things have really worked for us too, because that's driving the direct traffic. And then finding partnerships where you can essentially partner with someone and get free awareness, and it's good for the brand. So I think that's how we're thinking about it, because we don't have massive budgets, but we have massive ambitions. And so we're trying to get that right blend.
You know, one of the KPIs, Simon, we emphasize to our clients in this day and age, right? Like years ago, it was different, but in this day and age, it's about lifetime value, and LTV. Having a brand that was in retail previously, now with an emphasis on direct to consumer, what was your intuition or sense of what LTV was before when it was in retail, not necessarily knowing who the customer was versus what it actually is now?
Yeah, so we don't have, I don't have historical data. We don't know necessarily what the LTV for our brick and mortar business has been in the past. I think we don't even necessarily, where we are and how quickly we're trying to accelerate, I think LTV may not be the number one driver for us. I think what we're looking at, and I always say to the team, again, just even thinking about this conversation, there are so many buzzwords, so many technologies, so many things you can be focused on. It's so distracting, and you can follow trends. Really, when we talk about it as a team, we sort of have 4 criteria that, and again, I like to take complicated things and make them simple. So there's no difference between brand strategy and e-commerce strategy. Like they intertwine. So that's one. But the things we look at are really traffic, conversion rate, and AOV, average order value. And at our price points, that last one's really important. If anything we're doing, is it driving the brand? Is it driving traffic, conversion, AOV? Like that's how we think about it. That's how we frame all the technologies. If it's doing one of them and the team believe in something, we would take a really hard look at it. LTV, I think we'll get to that in a year or two. Right now, it's about growth. And also, I guess something that we're thinking a little differently about is the split in consumers, right? So if we have someone who's really loyal, and we've got a great loyalty program on CaaStle.com, yeah, it's about like how much share of basket we can have. It's about how much they're going to spend over time. But I'll take somebody buying one of our products at a Sephora as well. And I think longer term they can convert. But I think it's sometimes if we get too focused on, we want the biggest basket, we want all people's loyalty, it doesn't correspond with consumer behavior. And sometimes with consumers, what you're going to get is
eliminate friction. Eliminate friction.
They like 700 brands. You pick, like, if we get one of their 7, that's great. It's better than 0. And so it's that balance.
Simon, I want to get this question, and you know, I don't know the exact size difference between the company you're at now and obviously where you've been, but I'm going to think there's a delta there. Anything super interesting you've learned in this chapter?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the independence and the speed we can move at is fabulous. So when I was a startup, we had all the ideas and none of the money, right? So we couldn't do half of the things we wanted to do. At J&J, they've got money, they got great ideas. And honestly, what I've learned from there is how to make really fast judgments on calculated risks, because you learn like profit, what really works, what drives business. They really ingrain that discipline. So it's just not marketing for marketing's sake. It's not about, oh, look at the flashy thing. It's about what drove the business. And they get really good at kind of ingraining that. So I've been able to bring both, and then the quick decisions. Like we've got a really tight leadership team, and we can say, within 2 weeks, we're going to go and double down on a DTC strategy, or we're going to do something different. And then it's all about the implementation, and it's about backing the team up when you do that and you stumble along the way and helping them believe. So I just feel like it's the leverage of the skills, but the speed at which they can be applied, which is really interesting.
And then Simon, how's your leadership style changed since you've been working from home? How are you managing your team? What are some tips?
I don't know if it's changed. I think it's the same stuff. It's just applied maybe with a different intensity in different places. So I've learned that being honest is pretty critical to who I am, but honest and positive. So like I go back to Gordon Rush, like fabulous when we grew. You hit 2008, 2009, you have to have hard conversations with staff. You have to call up suppliers who you sat and eaten food with their family, and you got to say, can't pay, you need you to ship. When you start going into that phase, you realize that you can't bullshit people. You can't lie. You've got to really be real and true. And so I do that as much as possible and do it with the team, but also honest with the business. Like, so if everyone wants to grow their own .com, right? Everyone's like, got to do it. But just because you want to do it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing. So if you're a mass brand, you're broadly distributed, you're on promo everywhere, you can't ship in 2 days and you can't ship for free, why would the consumer not buy it on Amazon? And then you have to really understand what your value prop is. If it's something else, is it unique product? What is it that you're drawing people to? So just having those honest conversations, and then motivating the team by just making them believe they can do something that maybe at the start they're not sure they can do. But everyone wants to do something amazing, and if you get them to believe in it, and when it goes wrong, you don't hold them back. And then when it goes right, just those little green shoots, you let them see it, and then they flow. I think the biggest pivot with COVID on top of that is just like tripling down on empathy. Like I just say thank you all the time. I don't think you can say thank you enough. And when you got people who got kids, like I got 3 kids at home, I know what that's like. But there are also people on my team that are living alone, and they're living alone the last 3 months, sitting in their house, not interacting with people. So there's that dynamic where everyone's struggling in some way right now, and you don't judge them if they're not 100% enthusiastic on a call. You give them the flexibility they can have, and if they're doing the work and they care, then you give them every chance you get, and you try to understand and make them feel good. But honestly, sometimes you can't fix the world, right? And there's stuff that just goes on in people's head that's outside of your control. And so that's where you just say thank you. I mean, it's the least you can do.
I really, really, really was happy to see that you were locked in for this, my friend. I wish you nothing but success. I'm always here for you, like I've always said. And thank you for joining us and spreading your wisdom.
Okay, great to chat to you guys.